Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel where today we're going to start Barbarossa, Crimea, 1941-42 from GMT Games. It's part of their Eastern Front series. I'm going to go ahead and try playing scenario 3 here. It is called the Road to Sevastapol. So it's like the first, 17 turns of the campaign or something. So if you've played the introductory scenario, we've already broken through this fortified line on the isthmus, and now Kuznetsov and the 51st Army are around Ishun and Voinka on the secondary line of defense, and Manstein and his 11th Army is knocking at the gate. And so Kuznetsov is going to try to delay Manstein as long as he can to give Sevastopol time to man his defenses. So interesting thing about this game is there's a area around Sevastopol, which so the dark line here pops out, and then you play that part on this inset map to give you like greater fidelity on what's happening. So all of like the Sevastopol units are over here. That's why there's nothing here. So what else to mention? Over here in Kerch is a little bit of Soviet units. There's a holding box here that represents the across the Kerch Sea, that's where Soviet reinforcements come in. We have to get them on boat to Sevastopol. There's no other way for the Soviets to get reinforcements or attack supply points. The other thing is the Axis don't really have any access to rail lines for like the first 7 turns or something, so we have to hoof it everywhere. But the Soviets do have their rail lines active still. So they have a rail line hub, I would say, is this place called Jankoy, and that has a rail line going to the front, up to this isthmus, to Kerch, and to Sevastopol. The only problem is the Soviets don't have a whole heck of a lot of units to put anywhere. Like the 51st Army has a couple of rifle divisions, but there's nothing in reserve because this fat stack right here is the Odessa garrison that was just evacuated, and so they can't move for 2 game turns, and they're all at 1 step, so they had to get rebuilt. So it's going to take maybe 4 or 5 game turns before they're actually like in any kind of fighting condition. So Kuznetsov is going to want to delay for 5-6 game turns and keep the train hub of Jankoy open as long as he can. Now the main problem is going to be, I have found at least, is going to be this area up here. There is a strong point marker, but so the Germans have an infantry division and the Soviets have a rifle division there. The only problem is the Romanian reinforcements come in from that side, and the Germans can buy in the SS Leibstandarte Adolf Hitler SS Brigade, motorized brigade, I guess it is, for I think 3 victory points, and they come in over here. So if this collapses, then 51st Army's rear is going to be exposed. So that's actually going to be what Manstein's strategy is going to be. He's going to poke here, but mostly he's going to hope he can get some good results in combat over here and push down to Jankoy and force 51st Army to have to reposition. The Soviets have 1 mandated attack, so they have to attack before the Germans capture any victory points, or else the Germans get extra victory points. What else to mention? Most of the German units are just infantry divisions. We have 1 motorcycle battalion, and somewhere in here there's a Stug battalion. But like other than that, there's no real motorized units in that whole stack. So it's going to be pretty slow. And the first 2 turns, you have to follow the historical weather, and it's mud. So artillery is halved and you round down. So a lot of this artillery is just going to be like ineffectual. Like the ones are all going to be halved to 5.5 and then rounded down. So yeah, it's going to be a slog the first couple turns, but then once this gets broken, then the whole peninsula, or the whole Crimea, is going to be open to the Germans. And then Manstein will have to decide, does he go straight for Kerch, or does he try to make a dash for Sevastopol before the Soviets have really any time to man the defenses and build them up. The Soviets do get one strong point per turn, and so you kind of have to decide, are you going to put strong points up in here? Because you place it for one turn, then the next turn it gets completed. So it takes 2 turns really to get strong points in place, because the Soviets don't have any engineers in this scenario to quicken the construction. So eventually we're going to want to increase the defenses around Kerch and Kamish and maybe even Feodosia, because again, not only are they victory points, but they'll be able to provide a jump off point for localized counterattacks against the Germans. Again, just giving Sevastopol time to build itself up. So yeah, that's kind of an intro. We're going to just go ahead and get into turn 1, and I'll go through that with you so we can see how it looks. Alright, so we're in the strategic segment. For the weather determination, we're just in mud because we follow the historic weather. And we go straight to supply. Everybody's in supply at the beginning of the scenario. And everybody receives their tax supply points for this turn. So the Germans receive 2 and the Soviets receive 1. That goes in the map T holding box. The Soviets receive 1 replacement, infantry replacement, and that's about it. We can remove 1 garrison marker. I'm always bad at this. I don't know. I'm gonna take off here, I'll pull you out so you can see. I'm removing the garrison marker from the 184th Infantry Division in Simferopol. And we set aside the Soviet strong point for building in the Soviet engineering phase. And the Soviets are going to spend that 1 infantry replacement we just got to put a ZAP unit into the holding box so that we can try to get him over to Sevastopol and build up some of those Odessa garrison units. The Axis don't have any replacements coming in for the first turn. So reinforcements, there are no reinforcements for either side. I think, well, eventually the Germans are going to bring in the SS brigade, but I think we'll wait a turn just to see how things shake out. We skip the air readiness phase for turn 1, and now we do the Axis air interdiction phase. So we have a big chunk of Air Force units that we can do with the Axis, and the Soviets have like nothing. They have 1 Yak-1, an I-153 biplane, and an I-16 fighter, all of which kind of suck. So I think the Germans are going to fly 2 Heinkel 111s into the naval movement interdiction box, try to interdict the, because we know the Soviets are going to try bringing reinforcements over. And we're also going to fly a Bf-109E and a Heinkel 111 to try to interdict the 51st headquarters. Now the Soviets, so if you're playing 2 players, the Axis player would like put the air markers upside down, and then the Soviets would have to decide what he's going to send against these 2 units. And the thing is, it's actually really cool, like each player also gets dummy air units that they can put down, so they could do this. And so the Soviet player wouldn't know what these 3 units were, and he'd just have to look at his available forces and think, what is he going to put against it? I know the Germans, as a Soviet player, I know the Germans are probably going to do close air support attacks during the declared attacks, so I think I'm going to save my fighters to try to interdict the close air support units. So we're not going to send any fighters up. And the Bf-109 goes to the flown box, the Heinkel goes in for the interdiction, but since there's a Soviet headquarters unit, we have to do our anti-aircraft roll, and they get a +1 for the Soviet headquarters unit. A 3 on the anti-aircraft table is no effect. So Heinkel goes to the flown box. We get a interdict level 1 in this hex, which covers the headquarters unit, and then we get interdiction level 2 for the 2 Heinkels doing the naval movement interdiction box mission, and that's the Axis interdiction phase completed. We skipped the naval readiness phase on this turn, and so we just go straight to the Axis movement phase. And to be honest, I don't know that there's much we're gonna do. We will bring in our MSUs. Probably this big stack right here is just a dump, so we'll bring those suckers in there. We'll move the 170th Infantry Division into the 50. So we'll move the 50th Infantry Division up, 170th Division to take. Oh god, here we go. I know, I need to clip my counters, then this wouldn't happen. And so yeah, I think that's about me. We'll stack these 2 guys. And we're also gonna do a receiving reinforcements marker on, you can barely see him, he's up here, the infantry division with the step loss on him. And I think that's the only movement the Axis have for this turn. So now we do our attack declaration phase, and I think we're just going to go all out on the first turn because that's what we're here for. So we have declared attacks here, here, oh no, and here. So we're just going to go straight across. So like these 2 divisions are going to attack here, this stack is going to attack here, this stack is going to attack here. So the Soviet reaction phase, we don't really, the only thing we have is this armored regiment, but see, he's better on the offense than the defense, and I don't want to throw him away on an attack that might go horribly wrong. And since we're interdicted, we can't really do that anyway. So we're going to designate artillery support hexes. We have 1 artillery unit. We'll send him into the center one. Alright, so this is just, I hate math and I hate numbers. So I don't think you can have 1 and then round it down to 0. And like it says halving is cumulative, but a group of units involved in a single combat cannot be reduced to less than 1 strength point retain fractions. So I guess we could do half and then add it up, and then so then we're doing a fraction of a fraction in combat ratio. I don't know. Maybe you all are better at math than I am, but I'm just going to say it's 1 because I hate math and I don't like fractions. So we're going to say half of 1 can't be 0, going to stay at 1 because that's just easier for me. If it's wrong, it's wrong, but hopefully you understand. And if you play against me one day, then you can protest. But until then, it's a 1. So now we can't issue any no retreat orders because we're interdicted. Now we do our cast missions. So I think so we're just going to put it over here. So the JU-87, our best cast unit, is going to go in the middle, and he's going to be escorted by a BF-109E, and then we'll send a JU-88 to the other two combats. And since they have a air combat rating of 3, they can kind of take on just about any Soviet fighter that comes their way. And what we would do if we were playing an opponent would be we would put dummy air units on all of them, so they had 2 markers for each combat. Now for the Soviets, we have 3 very crummy fighters, which now you can see. And so we'll put the Yak-1 and I guess the biplane in the center, and it's a dice roll. Okay, we'll put it here because I think we want to protect this one, I think. Yes, we'll protect this one. So now we've resolved these air combats. So first we'll do this one. Roll for air initiative. A 2 is Axis initiative, so we will pair up the biplane with the JU-87 and the Yak-1 with the BF-109E. So now we do, it's a -1 for this fight. We're on the -1 column. A 2 actually is really good. It's a damaged, and the BF-109 gets to shoot back at the Yak-1, and we're at a +1. A 2 on the +1 is destroyed. So the Yak-1 gets destroyed, goes to the destroyed box. BF-109 goes to the damaged box, and the now we go to the this air combat. So we're going to roll for the Soviet. It's a 0, so we'll do the Soviet roll first. A 6 on the 0 column is nothing, so the JU-87 gets through, but he does get to shoot back because he has an air combat rating. And a 2 on the 0 column is a damage, so I guess the tail gunner hit the biplane. And now we'll do over here. So this isn't a great fight. I guess all those defensive gunners on the JU-88. So it's a -2 for the I-16, and that's nothing. And a +2 for the JU-88. A 6 on the +2 column is an abort. So he just goes to the flown box. And so now each of these targets get the cast. And we're just going to go ahead and put a 1 cast, a 2 cast, and a 1 cast down here. That's kind of just how we're going to remember it. All of these guys go to the flown box. And now we designate all declared attacks that are attack supplied. So all 3 of them are going to be attack supplied. We're going to use this wagon, MSU, and one of these dumps. So all 3 attacks are attack supplied. And we're just going to go left to right, I believe. And this is going to get kind of ugly with counters, but that's what we're here for. So we're going to do this attack first. So we allocate our artillery. I'm going to have to move this guy out here somewhere. I'm going to kind of just spread out all the available artillery we have. Okay, so We definitely want to assign a super heavy artillery so that we get to cancel out the strong point modifier. So we'll assign this super heavy artillery. So it's 2 halved is 1, 9, 13 to 4. And we want to assign one of these two guys. Yeah, let's assign this guy 2. Actually, no, it doesn't matter because of the odds. So 13 to 4 is 3 to 1. We're not going to do any access retreat orders, though maybe we should, don't know. So we're on a 3 to 1 column, and we don't have combined arms, we don't have Panzer Division integrity, blah, blah, blah. So we have 1 for close air support, -1 for super heavy artillery for -2, +1 for the strong point, so -1, and there is no terrain in that hex. So we have a -1 on this die roll on the 3 to 1 column. A 5 on the, so it goes down to 4, is a 1-1. So we'll just take that off, we'll give a step loss to the 73rd Infantry Division. And 156th Rifle Division loses a step, but holds his ground. So now we go to our next attack. Let's go over here first, actually. Save the big one for last. So we have 9 Axis attack points. It's already supplied. We're going to assign this, super heavy artillery, god darn it. So for another 1, so we're at 9 to 4. Can we get to 12? 10, 11, no we can't. So we're at 9 to 4 is 2 to 1. We do have the super heavy support canceling out the strong point and the close air support. So it's a -1 on the 2 to 1 column now. This is gonna be ugly. I'm just warning you. Yeesh. 7 on the 2 to 1 column is, oh wait, wow, a retreat. Okay. So the Soviet unit has to retreat 2 hexes. 1, guess he'll retreat to his headquarters. And these gentlemen can move into this hex. That was a good result. Wasn't expecting that from such a high die roll. And I'm going to go ahead and just remove this strong point marker now, because this is a division equivalent, these 3 regiments. So it's the 22nd Infantry Division. So now we will declare our final declared attack. Let's see what we have. We have 10, 11, 12, 13. We're not going to declare engineer effects because we have our mortar, super heavy mortar over here. Okay, come on. So that's 1, and I've already forgotten. 10, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 to 2 plus 1 is 3, so 5 to 1. We don't even need these other artillery units, I guess. Sure. Oh, no, well, if we do, we can, if we do 2 more, that'll be 18 to 2. Yeah, okay, might as well. That's actually pretty good. So it's 18 to 2. We have, which is 9 to 1, I believe. That sounds right. So we have 2 close air support now. 1 for the super heavy artillery is a -3, +1 for the strong point is -2, and there is no terrain in this hex. So we're at a -2 on the 9-to-1 column. It's not gonna, this is gonna hurt. I'm sorry, 271st Rifle Division. Oh well, not if I roll like that. So at 10, -2 is 8 on the 9-to-1 column, is a 2 retreat, but there's only 1 step, so the Germans get lucky that it was such high odds. So we go ahead and we move these guys in here. We're gonna leave the no, let's bring it in just in case they decide to counterattack. So we'll move in with the whole stack. Okay, maybe not, actually. Let's move in with the anti-tank, the engineer, the infantry division, and we're gonna hold back the assault gun battalion, because I think it's next turn. Yeah, so next turn we can combine this assault gun battalion and the motorcycle battalion into a motorized Kampfgruppe, Grodrick or something, I believe. And so it's kind of worth holding them out there so that we don't lose a step on him. One playthrough I did, this step got destroyed because it got an asterisk result, and then it just confused me how to like make the new Kampfgruppe. Anyway, probably don't care about all that. So that's all the declared attacks completed. Now we have the Axis motorized movement phase. Motorized movement can go at half and cavalry at half, but again, we don't really have any. I guess we'll move up the motorcycle battalion into this hex. We'll move the artillery back to its hex. And now we just need to do Axis engineering phase. So we'll spend 1 RP to do this replacement. So we're down to 3. But now the 72nd Infantry Division is at full strength to do its attack on the 276th Infantry Division over there. And we don't have any 1 turn, no. That is the Axis player segment completed. And now we go into the Soviet player segment, and this is really why I love this system, is because the isometric kind of, one side plays completely different from the other. So you saw the Germans were able to move everybody first and then attack. Well, the Soviets can only move their motorized units before they have to declare their attacks. So we can't move, for example, we couldn't move now in the Soviet motorized movement phase this infantry division here to do an attack, a counterattack. We can only, in the motorized movement, we can only move, obviously, motorized stuff. If the headquarters wasn't interdicted, we could move up to 1, in this case, unit in command range in the motorized movement phase. But since he's interdicted, he doesn't have that ability, which is pretty clutch for the Axis, I think. We don't have any replacements to do because, again, we can only do replacements and reinforcements in the map T holding box. Anyway, all that to say, I don't think we're moving anybody. We're not going to move the armored regiment. And so the Soviet we're not attacking anything. So there's no combat, no reaction. And now we're in the regular Soviet movement phase. So what I'm really bad at is moving stuff by rail, but let's give it a shot. Okay, so in the Soviet movement, we are going to bring the 184th Rifle Division from Simferopol. We get 3 stacking points per turn on rail, so we're going to move him on the rail up to this little guy up here to give an extra 2 defense steps. And we're also gonna bring this zap unit up here. Okay, so we moved the 157th Infantry Division, or Rifle Division, down to the zap unit, which we're going to use to reform one step. Zap unit goes back to the cadre box. So that's going to be pretty clutch. That's a pretty chunky I think it's is it a 3-step unit? I always get this confused. I'm so bad at figuring out whether, hold up. Okay, so the since it has 5 defense points, it's a 3-step unit, so it goes backside to front side with a step loss. So we're still not quite at full strength, but it's better than nothing. And then we kind of fell back to Voinka, and I'm actually tempted to fall back to Ishun as well. But at least if we have this guy might just be sacrifice. I mean, 156 Rifle Division, because if they want to attack Ishun, we'll also have to attack this guy, so at least we can just delay another day, maybe, I don't know. Unfortunately, the Axis will be able to get into here, but again, they'll have to attack here and here. So, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that'll shake out, we'll see. Probably won't, because I'm really bad at strategy. So yeah, that's the Soviet movement. Now we do special movement, and that's just naval movement. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to bring 2 zap units over on these 2 destroyers. So we have 2 destroyers, 2 zap units, and we're going to try to bring them over, even though we're on the bad chart for the naval. So we have to go to this chart, naval movement loss table. We're in the air interdiction column, and we're a +1 because the air interdiction, or naval movement interdiction, is a 2. So we're +1 on the air interdiction table. So for the first one, a 5 is a no effect. Wow, okay, so that zap unit, so he goes sailed, zap unit goes into the port box. And then this guy, +1, wow, he gets through as well. Okay, usually that never happens for me. The Germans. Okay, so the other destroyer came around here into the Sevastopol zone and went to Sevastopol. I think this destroyer is going to go to this port, because then we can get this zap unit onto the 321st Rifle Division. And he's just a 2-step unit, it looks like, because his defense is only a 4. So he'll be at full strength after we get that zap unit in there. And maybe we can actually defend Yevpatoria, at least for a little bit. And maybe this destroyer can provide some artillery support, actually. Can he? I don't know. Yeah, you can. Not much, but alright. So yeah, that's the Soviet movement phase complete. Now we're at the Soviet engineering, and we have to figure out what to do with this strong point, because again, it takes 2 turns to build. Okay, I think we're going to put it in Jankoy, and then starting next turn we'll start building them down in Sevastopol and Kerch, seeing which way the Germans go, I guess. So that's the Soviet engineering phase, because there's nothing else to do. We don't have any other replacement points or anything. Now just the game turn interface, we pull off the interdiction marker. We can't do so down in Sevastopol, the coastal headquarters, coastal army headquarters is non-op, but we don't start rolling for him until the next turn. And yeah, so we just on to the next turn, and that's it for the first turn of this scenario. The Germans, of course, have made some gains in the Isthmus, but Kuznetsov is kind of looks like he might be able to make a determined defense in Voinka, and getting this reduced strength infantry division up here is really going to make it difficult for the Germans to break through in this direction, hopefully, unless they get some good die rolls. Granted, They do have a full strength infantry division up here, and the get Romanian reinforcements, and we'll probably bring in the SS brigade. So we'll see how that actually turns out. Good thing is we only have one hex to attack from. So yeah, that's the first turn completed. Hope you enjoyed it. If you saw any rules goofs, of course, please point it out so I don't keep making the same mistakes. And yeah, hope to see you in the next video. Till then, bye for now.